You ever want this to just be bigger? Well, not this exactly. I'm too broke for a Switch 2, but the point stands. The idea is to take this screen, turn it into a big TV, but what about the Joy-Cons? Well, that's simple. Just make them. These big Joy-Cons are going to be made out of MDF, laid out kind of like this. To cut these, I use my miter sled, which is pretty handy for repeated cuts. And just like that, we have all 4 of them. Now looking at a Joy-Con, they got a nice radius on the outside. So, to mark that out, I'm using this tool here. It'll create a perfect circle if I just drop a point. And then just like that, we got 8 of them marked out on our 4 Joy-Con pieces. Now on to cutting. To cut these out, I'm using my bandsaw, and if you haven't noticed, there's going to be a lot of repetition in this project. Basically, 2 Joy-Cons look nearly identical outside the buttons on the front, and with front and back to each of these, that means that it's going to need to redo the same thing 4 times over. After that quick rant, the cutting's done, and now we sand them on our belt sander to make sure that they're all nice and smooth, and just like that, 4 Joy-Con shaped things are there. Well, what next? Well, the buttons. I was hoping these could be my joysticks, but I ran into a little issue while trying to cut them. This is my circle cutting jig, and as you can see, the pivot point is a little bit too far away from the blade, so it wouldn't actually be able to cut a circle. So instead, I gotta find something else to do. I'm bad at YouTube, so I forgot to record this, but I ended up cutting these on the bandsaw and then sanding them on the belt sander, kinda like what I did with the Joy-Cons. Well, on to our next buttons, but the joysticks are a little thicker than the other buttons, so what do? Well, we send it through this machine that makes our stock a little bit thinner than it used to be, and with that, we can turn these into our next buttons. Most of the Joy-Con buttons are actually the same size, and I found that instead of using that annoying technique for the joysticks, I managed to find this hole saw bit that's the exact right diameter for our buttons. So this should clear up all of our face buttons. So after a few times drilling, we end up with 9 perfect circles. The screenshot and C button, however, are just normal squares, so I cut it to width on my table saw, then I cut it to length on my miter saw, and like that, we got our 2 buttons. The plus and minus buttons are also just simple cuts, but I forgot to record because I'm bad at YouTube again. With all of our buttons ready, we start marking out where the buttons actually sit on the Joy-Con to be in proper proportion with a real one. With all the buttons in their proper place, I think it's looking pretty good. But there's still a lot more work to be done. The C button, screenshot, and home button, as well as the 2 joysticks, need to be carved with a design. I now have my design marked onto these 3 buttons, as well as the design around the joystick that we need to carve. For the third and hopefully final time, I show how bad I am making videos by not showing me carving the joystick. Here I am routering the outside of it to give it a small round over. I then am going to do the same to the outside of the Joy-Cons to also give it a round over just like the real ones. Because I didn't record it, if you're wondering how I got that design, I'm going to do the same thing here. Basically, I use this rotary rasp on a rotary tool, and it makes quick work of all the material in the way to help make our concave shapes. I want my buttons to be inset to give it a little bit more support, so I'm going to be using this router and just going in an 1/8, insetting all of my buttons. Now that I got all my buttons inset, it's a really tight fit in there, but there's one issue, and that's the roughness on all the carvings. So I'm going to take them out, sand them the best I can to get them smooth. Now that I have everything sanded, I think it looks a lot cleaner, especially in the areas of the top of the joysticks and the little concave underneath. I've glued all these buttons in now, but there's still one problem, and that's all the holes that are in these circular face buttons. That's because of the pilot bit that the hole saw used. So I'm going to patch all of these up, sand them, and they'll be as good as new. Now that the fronts of the Joy-Cons are pretty well done, I'm going to work on the back. And I don't want this just to be a decorative piece of wall art. I want it to be something functional. So I'm going to turn this into a cabinet that can hold a handful of games, a few accessories, and a dock switch. To do that, I'm going to cut this into a ton of strips. Then I'm going to feed them back through that one machine that thins down the material. And trust me, this doesn't work on people. I've tried. With all of our pieces at the right thickness, I cut them to the proper length. To curve around the edge of the Joy-Con, I cut a ton of these small pieces at a 4.5-degree angle. This should wrap around for a perfect circle. With all of our pieces together, it should curve perfectly around that Joy-Con, so we glue it all down, we clamp it, pin it, and hopefully it sets all right. It's the next day and everything is looking just right. Now, all I gotta do is just sand the flats of these to round them a bit more, and then fill in any little areas where there's gaps. I'm actually going to sand the inside first and then put in my shelves, because if you try to put in the shelves and then sand the inside, it becomes a lot harder of a job to do. For shelves, I'm thinking 3 on each side. On the left side, we're going to have 2 shelves that should be able to fit games in them, and then the top one for a few more accessories. Then on the right, I want the middle area to have a dock switch, the bottom for more accessories, and the top for whatever else you want. The shelves are in now, and it's working nice. We got a nice tight fit on our games, and with both shelves, we should be able to hold 34 games total. Then all these small cubby holes should be able to fit controllers really nice. I spend the next few hours of my life sanding all these down together, then I blow off all that remaining dust, ready for paint. We shake up the can and start applying layer after layer after layer. Halfway through painting, I did realize one issue. Did you notice it? It's that there's no bumpers. Well, that's fine, I can just quickly fix that. Have some extra stock here. I'm just gonna pin it onto the sides, glue it up, and hopefully we'll be back on track. With all of our parts painted now, it's time to turn this into a proper cabinet by attaching the door on. So I'm going to place these hinges here, but there is one small issue. That's that these slots are too small to actually fit my drill in. But that's fine, I have this right angle bit, so I can just drill the hinges in with that, and it's perfect. To attach the hinge to these doors, I use this jig, which will drill a hole just the right size. Then I use this stick that's straight that'll line up our 2 hinges. And with one soft closed door done, it's on to the next one. Now that both doors are mounted, I'm going to install the system that actually mounts these to the wall. So to do that, I'm using this French cleat system. Basically, it's 2 pieces with a 45 angle cut on each. One goes onto the cabinet and one goes onto the wall. I'm on to detailed painting now, and I was first going to tape off all of these areas where I need to apply gloss coat, but I realized there's a simpler solution. Problem for future me. Well, no, but really, it is easier just to do a quick spray with a gloss coat over top, and then paint back over it with our matte finish paint. The lettered buttons, however, are a little more complicated, so I did make these tape masks that I should be able to just paint over top of and leave us with perfect straight lines. It did not leave perfect straight lines, actually it's really bad and rough, but that's fine, I can just paint over it by hand, I just need to be really steady. The last step is painting the blue and red under the joysticks, and then just doing a little bit more touch up with black on any area that's rough. But with all that, it's done. Now that we're done, if you've liked the video, leave a like and subscribe, and comment down below anything you'd like to see me build next. With that, I'm gone. See ya.